up on today's show. We catch up on this week's video builds, so we'll be looking at the Meng F350. We're up to part 2 on that one, so we'll be catching up with that build. We'll be catching up on the HE111 Revell 132nd kit. That is a monster, and how we're getting on with part 6 of that one. Part 4 of the Tamiya Mark IV 1/35th scale World War I tank. Also, we've got a thing about primer as well on that one, so we'll be catching up with that. Classic kits. Somebody spoke to me the other day about obviously the first kits we did. I've managed to get hold of mine, so we'll be having a bit of a flashback to the 70s at the kits. Kit reviews for this week. We've actually got the Ducati 1/12 scale 1199 bike review. Absolutely beautiful kit. We've also got the Merit M19 tank transporter as well, which is an absolute monster, and that could be absolutely something really, really special. Also, we'll be having a quick flashback to the Tucano, the Super Tucano review we did of the Hobby Boss. We've now got the correction set for it because it had a few problems, so we've managed to get hold of one of those. Catch up with the live show on Tuesday, so we'll be looking at that one and how we got on with our special guests. We've got the SIG and the group build news. The World War I SIG came to an end last week, some great work in that one, so we'll be having a look at that with the final reveal video, plus all the other news and gossip. Hello, welcome to Flory Models. I'm Philip Flory. As you can see, we had a very busy week this week, to tell you the truth. Started off Monday. Well, actually, didn't get it till Tuesday, but it should have gone up Monday. It's just that I had a few things to take care of on Monday. We carried on with part, what are we on now? 2 of the Meng pickup, which basically gets you to this stage. We spoke about it, haven't managed to push on with it anymore this week, but your part is up there now, where we talk about obviously using metallizer paints to do the engine block, some work like that and everything else. I am thoroughly enjoying that build. It's something different from me. Normally it's all weathering and doing things, and this one it's all perfect and everything's supposed to be immaculate, so I'm trying to keep it as nice as possible, and I am enjoying the scale. You know, this is 1/24th scale, really enjoying it. So you've got part 2 of that is up on the site now if you haven't seen it already. Next up, we had on Tuesday was the live show. Yes, we had special guests with us this week. So we had Mr. Russell Wood, one of our members from Telford. He came down, made the long journey down to join us Tuesday afternoon and join us for Tuesday night. Thank you very much, Russell. I know we made a lot of fun of you and we shouldn't have. Terrible thing that happened on the way down. Anyway, you're gonna have to watch the live show to get that joke. Anyway, it was great to have him down, lots and lots of fun and everything else, and thank you for joining us. We also had Steve on the show as well, the armour guru as he is now known, or armour god, giving you obviously all the tips and gossip. Remember guys, you can watch these at any point. I know some of you had trouble streaming. It's not us, it's obviously YouTube, something with the connection between yourself and YouTube for those. Just go to the forum and then have a look in there. I am going to do a page. I know some of you have spoken about, because obviously not everybody is on the forum for the members. I am going to set up a page next week, so there'll be archive section on the main site as well, so you can watch them in there. So you'll be able to just flick through them at your heart's content from that point of view. They go on for about 3 hours. You post up your questions from the forum. We answer all of them normally in that 3 hours, so we can, you know, get as many as we can done. We are planning on doing a US time zone one, so for us it'll be Saturday sort of afternoonish, and then obviously you guys, it'll be Saturday morning for you, and we can join. And then with the Australian guys as well, we're going to get up nice and early, something like sort of, you know, 8, 9 in the morning, so you'll be able to get one as well. So we're going to try and do those on a Saturday, so you've got it available for the weekend, so you can join us live and ask questions and interact live with us during the live shows as well. But if you haven't seen it before, we've got the live section on the site, and then obviously in the forum you can watch all the old ones. They're all there. And as I said, they're more of a light-hearted look at modelling than certainly doing actual modelling. Although Sid badly let me down this week and actually built a model without me knowing about it. Ha! I've got to do my Meng truck now. Ah, that's the other Meng one, as in the little one we were doing, and everything else. Wednesday, Heinkel. Lots of fun with this one. It's big, and this is, as we said, hugely big. This particular part, what are you on now? Part 6 with it. Getting the wings on, getting the geometry right, and then sanding, filling, rescribing, all those things to do it. I've done all the glass work as well. It's all literally behind here. We've got it all in. If I can grab a piece at random, what we got? We've got everything is masked. And to be honest, some of it I've masked using the masking set comes with it. Other things I couldn't be bothered with, so I've literally just gone in there and done them myself, because I don't like messing around sometimes with the bitty bits of mask when you can do it completely in one. Lovely kit. if you're into your big bombers, then go and get it because it's a bargain for the money. Some very nice detail. It goes together surprisingly well. I know I've used filler on it, but we're just looking for perfection on this one. You could probably get away with hardly any filler on this one at all. The wing joints especially are particularly nice. Really looking forward to this week because I'm going to push on with it, get the glass working, get it in primer, and we can start to work through the exciting bit for me, which is obviously the paint work and going through. But as you can see, it is a huge monster. For the guys who are asking about the photo etch, what I'm going to do is just getting some of this out of the way, and then I'm going to sit down for a couple of days and do a thing about photo etch where I'm going to use the Bombay, because my plan is to display it with the Bombay out next to it so you can see all that great detail, because quite frankly you don't see any of it in the model at all. But no, really am enjoying it. Part 6 up now, and then obviously we're going to start pushing on quite quickly through next week and everything else with that one to really push through with it. Last up, yesterday, we've done a little bit of painting work on the Mark 1 tank. To be honest, first time I've ever used the AK paints, all right? Never used them before, but as you said, something a little bit different. They seem to work just as well as Model Air. Okay, one of the things we spoke about this particular one though, we actually brought up the thing about priming it and everything else. So we went along and we did our standard, which one is this? This is the polyurethane primer. Put it on, no problem. Now, a lot of people say about it, and I've obviously said about it before, about the actual surface primer isn't the best in the world because it takes so long to go off. Okay, you can't sand it. Some people have spoken to me about actually coming along and using clear with it to speed it up. So I did a quick test. Okay, so today we've been playing with the polyurethane. This is the Vallejo stuff. Now, one of the biggest criticisms we got with it is its drying time. Now, lots of people have mentioned this particular tip to me, so I thought I'd give it a go. Okay, and they say about giving it a coat of clear or future once you put it down. Now, to be honest, we're currently spraying the tank, the British Mark IV. This is the Tamiya kit we're working on. So I've primed it, and I thought, oh, we'll give it a go to see how it actually comes out. So lo and behold, I thought doing it on there, it's a little bit unfair. We want to put it down on a perfect test result. So what I did was I've primed 2 pieces of plastic card just like this. Okay, and then really we've done both of them had pretty good coats. We're not talking just a thin coat. This had a decent coat of this stuff on, which, as we know, would normally take around about 2 to 3 days to become sandable. Okay, I did this roughly about 24 hours ago, just probably not quite as much, about 20 hours. All right, it's had drying time. It had the same layer on both, okay, because literally I put them next to each other and just did both. Then this particular one here, this had a coat of clear over the top. Now, forgetting all the linty bits and all the rest of it, because to be honest, I did it quite roughly in the spray booth, what we can actually now have a go at is to see how sandable it is. So to make this quite sort of a nice comparison, I've just got one of our sanding sheets, all right? So I've cut a bit off so we can actually tell. Now, first of all, this is our traditional sanding one, all right? So I said 20 hours, it should be getting curable by now, all right, as it normally is. So we're just gonna give it a sand and see what we get. And it's coming off, and see it's quite dusty, and it is sanding. We've got no real roll up at all, which is what I would expect from it, okay? So you could then give it a light sand over. And as I say, we are starting to sand with no real roll up. And then just to give it the final test, we're just going to use a polisher, going to wet it just a little bit, and a polish over. Okay, and then we're just going to come in with our real polishy side and see how actually we get. And actually, it's not too bad, and it's done exactly what it says on the tin, so to speak. Pretty good all over that, no problem at all. Okay, now this is the one with the clear. Now I know I'm speaking like I know what I'm on about this because I've already had a go here. Now I did this 2 hours ago and I was still having trouble with it, so we're just going to use the same bit of foam, different end, all right, and we're just going to give it a rub. And as you can see, we're getting the roll up bits that have come back. And you might be able to see the difference on the sponge as well. Obviously dusty on this side, and we're getting in here where it's actually clogging up because it's got flat bits in there and it's spreading them out. So I know obviously some of you guys are making this work, but I can't because I've tried to do it. The only thing I can assume is I put on too thick a coat of Future and it's not worked particularly well. That said, and this is where this comes in, to make this a little bit of a curveball on this one, when I did it on the tank here, to be honest, the underside, and I've just been playing around with a little bit of painting, we literally just started on this one, you might see it actually looks pretty good down here. Now, I'll be honest with you, it was pretty rough. The other thing as well, on the top here, you might see it looks quite smooth and nice. I put a whacking great fingerprint because obviously this stuff, usual thing, it's still soft. I picked it up and I grabbed it like this and I put a thumbprint right in the top in that exact place like that. What I did was I gave it a good coat of Future right the way over the top, left it for around about, I don't know, not too long, it's probably about an hour, 2 hours tops, okay, came back and we've done the paintwork on it. I also put a huge thumbprint in just down here and you might see there's nothing on it whatsoever. Normally, if it was this stuff, you'd have to sand it off, but as we've just shown, or we know about, sanding this particular stuff isn't the easiest thing in the world because it can give you lots of problems. So really what I'm trying to say with all of this in a long-winded way is I haven't found it drying any quicker and easier to use. Personally, from mine, it may be I put down too thick a coat, it may be I put too thick a coat of clear, but obviously here we are now 20 hours later and I'm still having trouble sanding it, yet the one which is just neat this, a nice coat, I can sand it now. But what I am saying though, if you do have a problem with it, give a coat of clear over the top of the primer, will give you a very nice, very smooth finish and take care of any imperfections you've got in your paintwork. Because under here, as I said, was very, very rough underneath, and we just started to fade out panels and things going underneath here. But this was really quite awful. What it was, I had a lot of dust kicking around and it got stuck in here during the primer phase, and when you looked at it through the primer you could see pitting and all the rest of it. Gave it a coat of Future right the way over the top and it has got rid of it and smoothed it out. What I'm thinking is if you're doing anything with perhaps alclad finishes, obviously your metallizer paints in general, but certainly gloss finishes, things like that, it could be worth going along with putting down some polyurethane, okay, get a coat of that down, give it a couple of hours to basically start to dry and go off, then give it a coat of clear over the top of that, and that will give you a extremely nice finish to then move on then and carry on to do obviously your gloss work, because it'll be a nice smooth finish all the way over and should lend itself very well for that type of painting. But there we go, quick test. As I said, if I've done it wrong, shout at me in the forum and I'll have another go at it. But my personal thought is overcoating polyurethane with clear doesn't speed anything up. If anything, it slows it down a little bit compared with the new one. 24 hours before you can sand it, but it may be I'm doing it wrong. Perhaps I need to do a 50-50 mix of it or something else like that, but I understood it, you just overcoat with and jobs are good, and I haven't really found that out. Okay, and these are the said cards that from earlier, and as I say, I recorded this one early this morning, and as I say, it's, I don't know, I can't work out if it's me doing something wrong, but I can't make it dry any quicker. The only thing it does give is a nicer effect, and as I said in that video, it gives a nice smooth look to it. It's gives it, if you were doing, as I said, metals and gloss work, it's the way to go because it gives a truly fantastic finish, more glossy than the standard polyurethane primer on its own. It's just I don't think it dries any quicker. But anyway, part 6 is now up on the site. He says whacking the cannon, okay, and everything else. Thoroughly loving this one. As you might be able to see just down here on the bottom, I have been playing with some of the weathering underneath. You'll catch up with that in part 7, the next one on there, when we start to work our way through the weathering and going through and everything else like that. But we got the tracks, they were done as well, so we got the track works all done here, which is ready to be fitted back on this one. And then, as I say, to give you an idea of how it's going to be, it's going to look really, really nice. And amazingly, I am loving every single minute of this build, especially when you're using a new type of paint. Often it can be a bit of a headache. This stuff seems to work well. My only thing is, and we spoke about it, is, which is the original base colour, it needs a bolt in there, and we cover it in the video build. Put one in, because when I tried to spray it before, it was starting, it didn't like it. And what it was, where you shake it up, you get lumps in there. Bung in a bolt in there, marine grade M5 bolt. Perfect, no problem at all, really, really nice. And as well, M5 ones, the thing is, if you'll find they don't quite fit, you have to push them in, but then it stops them getting up to the business end and packing solid paint in up near the nozzle end, which can cause you problems as well. But don't use a ball bearing, because as we know, when you squeeze, nothing happens. Big old mess. But there we go, lots of things going on this week with the video builds. As I said, still doing 3 a week and everything. Spoke about it obviously last week. We'll just recap it now. The poll is now up. This is going to be a permanent feature. It is in the forum. Please go along and have a vote in there. It looks like at the moment the Jaguar and the Halifax are going to be the next two medium builds. So when we said medium builds, at the moment the quick build technically is a tank. I know it doesn't feel like it, but it is. Okay, and then sort of, you know, the sort of medium build is the actual doing the truck as well. What I tend to do is big old build, so something like this HE111 is going to take a couple of months to really rattle through to get it right, because we've got to do all the weathering and everything else with this one yet. After this one, I am going to be doing the Airfix 124 scale Typhoon, so that's going to be a big long project. But what I've done is you get one vote. So the idea being is it splits you up a little bit. So instead of just saying and voting for your favourite scale and then perhaps a second one and you get it in, you get one vote over two scales or two types of builds, a quick build and a medium build, okay? So it's worked well because you've got a good split between, you know, obviously people saying, right, I want a 1/48th modern type aircraft, and we're going for the 1/72nd Halifax, which to be honest isn't much on the internals. It's all going to be on the externals with the Halifax and the painting for camo work and working with black and things like that. So make sure you pop along. It's in the announcements area, and it's basically, it is your call for the next video builds that we're going to do. What happens is once these finish, I will then grab the next highest rated video on there. So obviously some of them have got like sort of 30-40 votes on now, okay, and I'll pull that one off, and then literally it's just a case of saying, right, okay, they all get reset, all go back to 0, and I'll add another kit into it, and then you can then just vote again. And that way I think it's quite fair. So then you get the guys who are more into the smaller builds, the quicker builds, things like that, they can vote on there. So in this case it's going to be the Halifax. I think the Vulcan Bomber is right behind it, the 144 scale one, and you can grab that one and take it off. So it'll just be a rolling thing. It's always going to continue, so that it'll just get zeroed and then we'll go again, zeroed and go again, and just can push through with it. And hopefully it'll be a little bit more sort of, you know, the demographic will be better over the membership and everything else like that. So there we go. Right, we've got to talk about, I spoke about it a couple of weeks ago about classic kits and things like that. And to be honest, if I make a little bit of room, I went out on eBay and tried to find my first kit. Now I remember watching some various films as a youngster, and Tobruk stuck in my mind, and there's a scene in Tobruk at the film with I think it's a Kitty Hawks does a few strafing runs, and I was in the model shop like you were as a kid as a non-modeler. Now age, I think I was about 7, and as I said, not really any modelers in my family either, so it was just basically me, and I got hold of this kit in this boxing. Now what we've got down here is the original boxing in 1976 of the Warhawk. Okay, now if we have a look inside, as we can see, we have the bag, which I don't think is the original bag if we're honest, so I'm going to cut him open anyway because I don't think it's original. And you can see what you get. Now, a couple of things about this. I'm not just going down memory lane. There is some sort of method in the madness here. Okay, but as you said, in those days, you used to get a stand, which was very nice. And it's got a swivel head on the top of it, so you could position it, which was very nice. You've got the cockpit, okay, and you've got the kit itself. Now, the kit itself is very much, as you can see, raised panel lines, and it's in dual colour, so you've got that very nice matching colour, which we won't go into the comments, okay, and it's all raised. Now I know what you're thinking, he's an old duffer, and that's what they are, okay, but there's method in the madness, so bear with me. But this is the first one. But if you look around the front end here, you can see it's recessed panel lines as well as raised, all right, and go all the way through like that. Beautifully done, okay. And on the wings, again, you've got recessed around here for where the engine is. The rest of them are all raised, so it's pretty much a mix. So don't think all old kits are, you know, raised panel lines and looking horrible, because this one is, you know, getting on. It's almost 40 years old now, and going through. But as you can see, you get a little pilot figure and everything else just like that. And okay, it's got a little bit of flash on it, and it's not the most detailed, and I don't think it's even the correct shape, but it's close enough. All right, the instructions. Down memory lane, I'll look at the decals in a second. But as you can see, pretty basic, not a lot to it, you know. But as I said, it was all about the fun nature of doing it, and some detailed kit callouts, you know, for the actual painting guides as well, and everything else. And there's that stand we were speaking about. Okay, the decals themselves, I haven't even attempted to peel these apart, and I don't. Oh, I think so. I think these are pretty much had it. I'm not going to be able to use them again, but as you see, Pretty good stuff. Okay, the reason you get the US version, obviously you guys used to call yours the Warhawk, we called it the Kitty Hawk. Okay, but that was the first ever kit I bought as a youngster, which paying this upholstery sum of 49 pence, brilliant. This one cost me 10 quid off of eBay. So how prices have gone up. And then when we were at the Telford show, I remembered, or I knew what my second kit actually was. My second kit was this particular one. Now this is the Hawker Tempest. Now the reason I liked it is literally walking around the model shop, I remember the Kitty Hawk having the big mouth on it, and then obviously with the Tempest it's got it as well, and this was the second kit I bought. After that, I don't know, I was hooked, the bug struck, and then I was off. But this is the box for the second one, and this one's an even earlier one because this one here is 1974, so I was 1 when this one came out. Okay, but again, some nice markings, and for the sum, 30 pence. Cost me 7 quid now at Telford, so if you got a boot full of these you'd have been laughing. Okay, now this is what we were speaking about. The decals, okay, probably pretty much had it. Okay, you can tell that by the paper, pretty horrible. But you would think it would be raised panel lines because of its age. No. Okay, I know it's a gaudy colour, and how the hell they used to say, you know, don't have to paint it because it's bi-coloured, but this is all recessed panel lines on all of this one. This is British engineering at its best, and the great thing with this kit is it came with a different front, so you can either do it as the early Tempest or the late. I think it's the Mark V has the different front on the end of it, on the front of it. But again, the wing section, this kit is completely recessed panel lines, which is about as close as you can get. So I'm saying they are recessed because they're pretty horrible. Okay, but generally, as I say, it's quite a blast from the past going back and seeing your things. Little notices you'll do, you've got numbers on the parts so you know what they are. So that thing of like we're now, like what part is it? In the old days they used to have all the numbers on. So absolutely fantastic. Again, you get the obligatory stand, which now is an extra and costs you more. The canopy, as you can see, considering you are talking 40 years ago, isn't too bad. But generally, a lot of people assume, because it's a 40-year-old kit, it's going to be raised panel lines. Classic example, it's not. All right, they're not pretty panel lines, but you could easily rescribe them with a finer scriber and give you very nice panel lines and everything else. So my plan is to build these guys, not how I did them before, because otherwise it means it would have just been painted solid colour and then set fire to by 3 o'clock in the afternoon. But as you can see, there's the old instructions, very nice. And oh sorry, Mark II has the round front versus the Mark I. Okay, so there we go, very nicely done. Pretty straightforward, very, very simple. The other kits they used to do look in the purple range and the orange range. Absolutely fantastic. And going through, and again, detail parts, some nice colouring and everything else like that. And again, the thing is I used to find very alluring as a kid was the actual artwork on the box. That is what I picked out, and that's why I went Matchbox, because I was a Matchbox fan, because it was just the artwork. I used to cut these box lids out and have them stuck on my wall. I know, it'd be really sad now, okay? But I used to find the artwork absolutely fantastic, beautifully done. And you know, and it's what drew me. I wasn't drawn to Airfix. I know a lot of, obviously being British, you would think I'd be an Airfix fan and everything else. Matchbox was British as well. And in my local hobby shop, which used to smell like old men, it literally was just that thing of like, you know, you had 2 choices. You could have Matchbox or Airfix. That was it, there was nothing else. And it was just that the pictures, I was drawn a lot more to this type of thing, with a gorgeous artwork on the front, than I ever was with anything that Airfix would stick up, because in those days they had that trouble with marketing where they weren't allowed to put up false advertising, so they used to have to put the pictures on a instruction sheet with the model on top of it. But there we go, that is a blast from the past. That's my 2 first ever kits. What was yours? That's my question. So we get a new thread going in the forum, my first kit. Okay, speaking of things a little bit more up to date, we've actually got here, we reviewed a while ago now, this is the Hobby Boss 148 scale, their new Super Tucano. One of the things that we found about it was that the underbelly and the pylons were, quite frankly, wrong. Okay, now this is where these people have come along, which I do believe are AVM scale models. Okay, they're from Chile or somewhere down in South America. And then in a little box here, which is our friend Peter Harris's Okay, he's sent me up one of these, which I promise I'll put it back together, Pete, because he's bought the correction set for it. Okay, so in your correction set, which is glued in, there we go, you actually get this bit. So you've only got a couple of bits in here. What you've got is a new instrument combing panel that goes over the top, okay, which is number 2, okay, and then number 3 is the new panel. So it gives you the correct screen system for the front of it. The other problem underneath obviously was the pylon system and for the center body section, because quite frankly it's wrong because it doesn't have it in the kit, and the real one does. Okay, and then number 5, which I can't remember what number 5 was for some other part on it. Oh, it must be for the center pylon. Okay, so this is the bits you actually get, and as I say, it's not mine, so I'm not going to pull it apart, but you get a new combing on the front here, and okay, it's not the best bit of plastic in the world, but resin in the world, but it does work and it is there. Okay, so you've got both the front and the rear instrument panels in there, and you've got the correct center, and this is the part here, this is the new belly plate. The resin's a little bit crude. There is some air holes in it as well. You can probably see down there. It's not the finest bit of moulding we've ever seen, but it's nicely packaged the way it's on a flat piece of sponge here to protect it, and it's good enough. And I think by the time it's had a coat of primer and perhaps rescribe it after that, it would be fine. But it was the criticism with the actual aircraft itself is that it didn't have the correct the belly plate for it with the central one. It didn't have the antenna either, and the HUDs were wrong. So this does correct all those little problems with it. I know it's not a biggie, but if you're a Tucano fan like that, then it obviously is quite important to you. Okay, so there we go. That is that one. As I say, that is available, and I've got a feeling it came from Chile. It comes from South America anyway, this company who did this one. But there you go. Have a look on the net and you can find all the details about that one. So there we go. Ding, ding, ding. Chile, made in Chile. It is. See how many things in the modelling world come out of Chile. I know you're all going to send me loads now, but there we go. So yeah, something a little bit different. And as I say, you can go out and get the full correction set for that one. Things that aren't going to need correcting though is the Tamiya Ducati. Okay guys, kit review time, something a little bit different. What we've got here is Tamiya's 1/12 scale Ducati 1199 bike. I love my bikes, as a lot of you know, absolutely fantastic. Obviously with these kits, they're fully licensed and you would expect them to be absolutely stunning. This is no different. As you can see, this is the actual kit you can see down, what you're likely to get in the kit. Fantastic job. Little options, bits of blur around. Kit number is, I don't know how they do them these days. It's 129 of the series, shall we say. Some other works there, as you can see the internals, the bits and pieces and everything else, and as you can see it is an official Ducati licensed product with a nice little hologram on there as well. Okay, so inside the box we've actually got, we'll start with the instructions. We should have the little pull-out, the information pull-out. So, crikey, need some bigger things on here. As you can see, usual thing with Tamiya, you've got your instructions going right the way through. So as you can see, usual thing, starting off with the engine, some little tabs to remove and everything else like that. It will be beautifully detailed, as we know, but say some very nice detailed work. You can work your way with your engines and your various bits and pieces with your metallizer paints. All right, exhaust system manifolds going on there, and obviously the drive gears going through and everything else. Radiator systems being fitted in. The actual top of the carb system and the top of the bike and everything else being put in place. Very nicely done, very nice simple instructions to follow. The hose work with the radiator going in there, and there we go, the drivetrain with the chain system, your pegs going in. You're going to see a lot of these screws dotted around the actual build themselves. Pretty good. Polycaps for the suspension system as well. Again, screws into place so you get a nice working suspension system with it. We've got the spring being fitted in there and that's all going through. As you can see, very nicely done. We've got some lengths of vinyl tubing, obviously for the hoses, for the brake lines and the clutches and everything else in there going through. Again, more screws, so you've got working handlebars for turning them and everything else. Nice colour call outs as well, very detailed colour call outs for how your paint is all going to be and everything else. On with the wheels, sometimes the tyres can be a little bit iffy, so we'll have a look at those, but again, screwing them into place, another nice touch, so it'll be a nice spinning wheel. Okay, and then on the fronts as well, and then put the fronts in there, going through the stand fitted to the rear. Okay, and then we've got in here the brake calipers going on, again very nicely done. Obviously the steering mechanism, more lines, say nice call outs for the actual lengths to cut, so I do believe that is to scale as well. We'll just double check that, but I think these are actually totally to scale. Unscrew that a bit. So 80mm, and it is 80mm, so all you're going to do, hold them up there and just cut away to those lengths. Okay, and then we're coming in a bit more with the fairing work going on there, putting it all through together, more fairing work going on. This is obviously where your painting is going to come into its own to really make it pretty good. Fuel tank system going on there, as we can see, the front cowling all being put in there, got the seats, and then obviously you've got the attaching the side cowlings going in, and then all the other bits, the sights, the mirrors, all of that, be interested to see how they are, and then finally around the rear. Beautiful. Okay, you got your decal call outs, not many on this one to be honest, a few little ones to go in there, various bits and pieces. It does look very, very nice. Then in here, I do believe this will be the information sheet on the bike itself. They've done it like this, which is, yeah, very nice background information. Okay, so usual thing with these things, we are staple bags, very thick, nice polythene bags, keeping all your parts nice and secure. So first up, you can see down here, we just drop some cameras in around this. Okay, so as you can see, very nicely done. The plastic, this isn't sort of chromed, but it's a nice colour plastic for a base start as well. But generally looking at it, you know, I don't know how well these details are all going to appear on camera, but certainly looking very nice, very nicely detailed with the engine block down there, and the areas coming round. Usual thing, no sign of flash, no sign of any problems you'll ever find on these anyway. Okay, a little bit of webbing, but that's obviously just where it's injected in. But the parts are extremely crisp, extremely sharp, minimal burring between the actual mould halves and themselves. There'll be minimal cleanup on there. Everything looks very nicely done. Okay, and then obviously these brakes, the discs themselves, as you can see, some nice detail in there. The chain itself, again, very nicely done. Okay, and going through, can't see any problems with that. Ejector pins all extremely shallow and out of the way, which is quite a nice touch. Can't see any problems with that at all. Some very nice parts in there. Okay, next up we've got the cowl. It's like a Matchbox 3-colour kit this, but it will make painting easier if you've got white down as a colour versus any other. But as you can see, again, extremely nice parts with these. They are absolutely beautifully done. Very nice, very crisp, very nice and smooth. So obviously paint going down later is going to be a doddle to put right the way over this. Light coat of primer, then straight into your nice colours. Ejector pins and things like that, very shallow, all out of the way as far as I can tell. Can't see any problems with that at all. Got the exhaust system down here. Obviously you can do in your metallizers and various things. I have to say it is beautifully done, very sharp, very crisp, all the moulding. You've got no sign of flash anywhere on this whatsoever, which is beautifully done. So yeah, some nice work on that one, certainly some nice detail. Okay, and then I've got this final one. We've got wheels and chassis bits in here. Again, as you can see, beautifully done, no problem with any of this whatsoever. On the blind side, got some little pegs, little ejector pins, but nothing you get excited about at all. Okay. A little bit of cleanup perhaps down inside the wheels, if we're honest, the way that's actually going to go, but not too much problem again on those. That's pretty nice. You can see the details down in there. They are very nice indeed. No problem with those anywhere like that. Great stuff. I must admit, it's one of those things, you look at these kits and you just can't find a fault with them. And as I say, for the bikers out there who know their bikes, they'll know the detail on this is absolutely brilliantly done, very exquisite, very nice. The research and everything that goes into these is quite something else. You've even got the moulds for the grip, for the throttle, and the obviously for the clutch as well. Various nice the barring and everything else in there is beautifully done. Very, very nicely done on those. And you catch them in the light shining across there. But very nice indeed. So, what should we do? Clear parts first? Clear parts afterwards. What else we got down in here? This guy's actually stapled to the box, which is a nice touch. So I'm going to leave it in there, but that's the front cowl for the headlights and the bits in there. Okay, we'll leave that in there. Very nicely done. So in here we have some of your other gubbins. So you're going to get your obligatory Tamiya screwdriver. So you've got a little bag of bits. As we know, we've got the screws there for the front forks, the steering, things like that. All in a bag, so we're not going to have that out. This is our suspension spring, which is a real spring. Okay, so you'll be using that one. This is the piping. I just see. It's a polyurethane type pipe, so pretty good to the original. You probably wouldn't even have to paint it. Very nicely done like that. So you've got a good length. So that's the ones you're going to cut to length for your bits and pieces in there. A couple of poly caps, more poly caps. Got the small ones there. The wheels, and this is what we're going to look for. The centre seam is extremely small. It's not going to take much. A few swipes with a sanding stick will take care of that. Absolutely fine, no problem at all. But that tyre generally is very, very nice. No problem with that. Anything like that whatsoever. Pretty good on all of that. The obligatory screwdriver, and on the other one just the same. Beautifully done tyre, no real centre seam to it at all. You could probably get away, to be honest, without even sanding it off. Some of them though, you get quite a nasty seam in there. Some of the walls can be a little bit iffy, but that is absolutely fantastic. Both of those very nice indeed. Okay, clear parts. So we've got the front windscreen, as you can see, is, as we would imagine, absolutely crystal clear. No problem with that at all. And you've got the headlights, beautifully done again. As you can see, you've got very little movement on any of these. That's really, really nice to see. Beautifully done, very crisp, no seam lines or anything in any of those. That's lovely. Last up, we've got the decals and the mirrors. I love these little mirrors. These are great. It's like it's a plastic, but very, very nice. And I presume that's your VIN number as well. And so you've got your wing mirrors on those plastic, which is absolutely beautiful stuff. And your decals, again, as you can see, really nice with all of those. Beautifully done, lovely register, no problem again. Again, it's Tamiya, so you're expecting it. Quite nice, two types of instrument panel there, okay. So you've got it blacked out or with the little window on there. So very nice again. And because it's fully licensed, all the trademarks, as you'd imagine, which is one of the nice things about these. So there we go. I will be doing a bike in the future, so I could be doing a bike just like this, or slightly different. Not sure which one I'm going to do yet, but there we go. That is another legendary kit from Tamiya. No problem at all. If you're a biker, especially a Ducati fan, you're going to love this one. That is a beautiful bike. That is absolutely lovely. And as I said, I am going to be doing vehicles and bikes and things, especially a lot more next year. So stay tuned for that one. Looking forward to doing something, if not that bike, something extremely similar. Next up, monster truck time, literally. This is the new Merit. This is the 1/350th scale N19 tank transporter. Okay, kit review time. Today we've got the Merit. This is the US M19 tank transporter, which has got the hard top on the cab. Okay, soft top on the back there, but hard top over the actual cab area itself. It's 1/350th scale. We dealt with Merit before. We do like their stuff. Pretty good stuff. So as you can see, very nice box art on there. What you can expect in the box, I can fit it all in. So as I say, you've got the decal call out for it, like that. Got the kit number there, so it's kit number 63501. Okay, and then some more on it, showing you about the photo etch which is in there. And okay, you've got the sort of Chinglish thing there about the manufacturing of everything else, and a nice overalls like that. So in the box, which says it's age 14 and over. Okay, so we're going to have to have that way. As you can see, big old box full of stuff here. So we might as well have a look at this first. So you've got some decals down in here already, okay, and looking at those, they look extremely flat, okay, how well the light will catch on them. But they do look very, very flat, okay, but they all look quite nice. Very nicely done. And the as you can see there on the carry film, it's actually around the numbers as well. So it's not like blocks of, which is quite a nice touch. And obviously we've got some call outs down in there. So that's the Star Decals one. Full colour pull out sheet. Merit, you might notice, are very much like Trumpeter in their call outs and things like that, amazingly. Okay, so as you can see, there's your full colour call out for it. Pretty good because you're just in the overall, but your weathering is where it comes into play with this one pretty good. And as you can see from here, you've got the wheels internally and then the outside as well. So pretty much everything going on there to try and spread the weight load. Okay, so inside the box, if we sort of have a dive around in here. So first box up, we've got this one. And as I say, this, as far as I know, has never been opened before. So in the little box here, we have bag of tyres. Okay, we just drop the top cap just down a little bit. Okay, so the tyres themselves, if we just grab one out, we can have a look, see what we've got. Obviously lots of tyres, as you can imagine. Pretty good, no real centre seam on these again, which is quite a nice touch. The walls on them are pretty good as well. We've got no trades on the walls, but as you say, that's not too bad. And who knows, they probably didn't have them anyway in those days. Alright, so I'll get that one in a minute. We've got the actual cab itself. Okay, one piece mould, very nicely done down in there as well for the M19, as you can see. So that is your hard top cab. So I'm assuming they do a soft top, do a rack top version of this as well. Little ejector pin marks in there, but nothing you go overboard about. Very nicely done for a one piece like that. Saves having to put things together. More wheels for the trailer, as you can see. Lots and lots and lots and lots of wheels. Tons of wheels there, alright. So that's that one. Then we've got the deck itself. So if we just whip this out. So we actually have some string for cabling. We discussed that on the live show this week. Is it any good or not? Okay, so the actual deck itself, very flimsy, but obviously we've got supports going to be going in there all over the place. But as you can see, not too bad at all. Not much texture to the top deck, but I don't think you have, but the details are pretty good. We've got no sort of flash or ejector pins or anything else that are bearing through this or anything else like that. So that's pretty good, all of that, no problem at all. Okay, whilst we're in here as well, we've got the clear parts, which because they're on the flat, they're going to be extremely clear, as you can imagine. So no problem with any of those. Alright, and then photo etch, again, as you can see, it's checkerboard photo etch, which you would imagine you're going to get loads of this anyway, but not a lot of point getting that one out. But some nice work there. So we've got some grills and various parts, as you can see. So that's the deck area itself. Okay, so we'll just get that one out the way. Alright, so whilst we're here, in on the old instructions, so we just have to pull that out just a little bit. So, as you can see, it's one of those things, we'll get a little bit more even, there we go, get you all in. Parts call out, as you can imagine, going all the way through. It's all used by the looks of it, right the way in there and everything else. So, starting off with the engine, looks like we've got a nice detailed engine in there, engine block, transmission, and things like that, so very nicely done. Manifolds going on, the usual bits and pieces you can imagine, the pulleys, the drives, the cooling systems, all of that going in to give you a very nice detailed engine. Exhaust system being fitted and then starting to work actually on the chassis of the truck itself. Going through, okay, all this work going in there, so obviously you've got things like the drive, the transmissions and all of those going through, being put on to build a very comprehensive chassis straight out of the box, as you can see down here. Relief springs all going on there, putting it in, really some very nice detail by the looks of it, some nice build work going into this, okay. And then obviously more transmission work going into the back, again some nice touches, the way that it's actually going in down here and things like that. Okay, up on the top, working our way through, we're putting those transmissions in and then starting to put in the axles and things like that. Some of the cross member work going in. Wheels, lots of wheels. Okay, so you have got loads of tyres going on this truck. So you can imagine separate fitting hubs, which are quite nice from the side, so that make obviously painting a lot easier and a lot less messing around. Okay, putting on the actual wheel arches, things like that going in there. Some more structural work going through. Okay, and then this is your checker plate board going down here for the sides going in. Fuel tank system going on. Does look like a very nice truck, you have to say. Okay, the winch system and everything else going in from behind the cab, that's being put all in there. Then we've got the rear deck going down, okay, for the actual truck. As you can see, pretty straightforward with all of that, the spare. Then we've got the internals for the truck going in there, obviously all the drive units and everything else. Truck doors going on, I assume you could probably have them open, closed and all the various positions in between, on or off even, and then those beds going down. So it's quite nice because obviously it's a one-piece truck top. It's going to then just plug in with the underside going in and then it plugs on, goes down. Obviously I presume you'd love to have that engine showing after all of that work. Okay, and then onto the rear deck. So you've actually got the system where you've got a one-piece bottom going to go to the top half of that rear deck for the trailer unit, and then it's going to be a case of putting onto it all the separate items, okay, that are going to bring all the structural stuff in there, the fenders, and then it's going to be, as you say, more structural materials going in there for the trailer, and then again working through the actual the wheel systems, okay, to spread that load. And this is what we're talking about for all of those wheels. There's a lot of wheels on this, and all the way through, and then just a case of hooking it all together. Actually looks really nice, I must admit. This is one of those I don't get excited about, you know, trucks normally, but for this one I could, you know, break a habit of a lifetime and have a go at something like this, especially because I'm working on the actual Ford F350 at the moment. Okay, so first part up, if we just pull these in just a little bit. Okay, so we've got it down here, you've got the dashboard. This is actually, it's quite nice because it's a sprue full of, this is the truck parts, okay, for that cab. So it's the floor, which is checkerboard as well, so obviously it takes a wash and dry brushing really well, and everything else. Steering wheel, tiny little bit of flash around that, nothing you go overboard about. Some little bits of flash on some of the parts, but it's pretty clean. It's not gonna be one of those things that's ever gonna be a problem. Okay, internally, quite nice because we've got no ejector pin marks on these doors at all. They're absolutely fine. Okay, so it's well thought out and put through, and just working through. Can't see any problems on the seat cushions, things like that. No ejector pin marks on any of those. Okay, next one up, engine block. So we can have a look at some of the details from the engine block. So, where are we? Top side F. Okay, sprue F, as you can see here. Again, some nice work. You can see some nice details on this engine block. It does look very, very good. All of that down there, just like that. No problem with any of those. Pretty good stuff all the way through. Not as flashy this sprue, if we're honest. And obviously you got the drive shaft, things like that. Very good. The manifold has even got the Hercules diesel writing on the manifold itself. Well, you guys can pick that out down there, but you can see some nice touches and nice details on that. Okay, what do we got? Fuel tank and some of the structural for the chassis. Okay, so again, sprue A, as you can see, so some very nice bolt detail and things like that. You can actually just down there in the light, you can see them a little bit better. All of these very nicely done. Nice texture on the fuel tank as well. It's not just plastic, it's actually got a texture on those, so that's very nice. And we've got some of the various items down in here. Clean, no sign of ejector pins on the chassis at all, which is very nice touch. So you've got no actual ejector pins on those whatsoever. Again, it looks like we've been talking about recently how the manufacturers now are thinking about ejector pins and where they should go. Whereas before it was just a case of, well, it needs them, so we just put them there and we'll try and make them as shallow as possible. Now they're thinking ahead and thinking, well, look, if we can get away with not putting them in there, then we won't. Okay, so here we go. This is part, which one's this? This is K. Okay, so we've got some of the suspension work down there, some of the wheels, some of the smaller parts. Again, all very nice. No real sign of any flash or anything else on any of these. Very nicely done. No problem with any of that at all. Again, we're talking, just saying about it, no ejector pin marks on anything that you'd worry about, and none to be cleaned up, which is the nice thing. Okay, so I probably not going to bother getting this one out. This in here, as you can see, is all the hubs and for the wheels we were talking about. So you could paint them all and then fit them afterwards. Be a lot easier. Okay, very nicely done. That's a duplicate of what we've got. So they are all duplicates of what we've got. So we've done that one already. Okay, so down in here, we've actually got, again, nice big area like this. Look, there's not a single ejector pin on this plate anywhere. Okay, very nicely done with that one. In fact, none of these have got ejector pins on any of this stuff, which is absolutely nice because it's big areas you'd expect them to have it. Okay, and as I say, you see this webbing, see these marks? You can see it, but you can't feel it. Those are absolutely smooth. So there's nothing in there. What it is, it's from these underneath, but they haven't gone through, so don't worry about that. Generally looking really nice. Quite an exciting kit, this one. It's very nice. The little touches I love is this chain. You've got a chain on this deck. I can catch it in the light there. You can see it. It's absolutely perfect. It looks like there's a bit laying on the top, but it's actually moulded in. Very nicely done indeed. Okay, and then we've got some of the wheel arches. So it's a big old kit, this one. Very nice indeed. So again, moulded in checkerboard, that's what we were talking about. It is absolutely exquisite here on C. Some of these on here, how well your camera can grab it, are opened and clean. Some of them are a little bit flashed over internally. I don't know how easy it would be to clean them out without making a mess, but they're pretty good. No real problems with it. Generally, again, no flash, no ejector pins in any wrong places. In fact, there's none in these wheel arches at all, which is quite incredible how they got that out of the mould. Okay, and everything else, but as I say, very nice details. Everything with nuts and bolts and things like that is nice, crisp, very nicely done. Okay, protective parts. Okay, so we have protective parts, so can we slip it off? We can. So that's protected. So down here, as you can see, we've got the A-frame for the trailer on there. A little bit of cleanup, nothing much. Just got tiny little pegs just down the side on this one down here. Maybe you just want to clean those up just a touch. But generally everywhere else, very nice. Tiny little bit of flash on this one. It's funny, this sprue's a little bit more flashy. Just around these down here, you've actually got a tiny little bit of flash in those. But nothing, again, you would really get excited about. You know, you're not going to start thinking that's horrible, because it's just going to take a little bit of cleanup, and in theory it's very thin as well, so you could do it with a little bit of hot action glue, weld action glue, just run it over it, it will melt it, get rid of it, job done. Again, very, very nice. All of those extremely nice. So now he's got to try and get this back in. Be a miracle if this goes. Get this guy just to hook over. We could pull off the impossible. Look at that, there you go Steve, you're okay. Right, chassis, don't think there's much problem getting this one out. This is that underbed chassis, little bit of flash on it, but it's going to be a doddle to clean that one up and go right the way through, so we're not too worried about that. Again, looking very nice, pretty sharp, all of that everywhere. Okay, what else we got down in here? Some of the engine details and suspension. Okay, just looking at that, some very nice details down in here. Little things like the fan blades have actually got the bolts holding them on. Well, the camera can get in here. But you can actually see that they've actually got the bolts on this one all together, which is really, really nice. Again, little tiny bits of flash, but nothing to get excited about. Pretty clean sprue, to be honest. Some very nice stuff, some nice detail. The actual, you know, the actual layers of the relief springs down here, very sharply and crisply molded. Okay, it's two parts that go together. All the rest of it pretty good, all of those, no problem at all. Front grille, very nicely done. So a tiny little bit of flash on these guys just down here, you might be able to see it, probably better on the blue than I can do. But yeah, a little bit on there, but nothing you'd worry too much. Okay, and this one here, which I don't think we, seeing as he's plastically bagged, although the tape's so good, I can't get in it. Okay, so we've got generally just the details down in here. I'm not going to bother getting them out. That's very nice, just thin parts behind that one. Wheel hubs with the nuts and bolts and everything else looking really, really nice. Some nice stuff down in there. No real flash anywhere on that one again. It's just very, very nicely, sharply done. And these are obviously, I've made a bit of a faux pas here. I take, because this is Steve Sutcliffe's kit that he's lent me to review. So forget those decals. These are obviously for the Australia decals for it, because it's got it for here for the truck and for the trailer. He's obviously bought these as an aftermarket. So looking at those, very nicely done compared to the kit ones. Well, if we just whip these out, we can compare to see how good these are. This is what you're going to get with the kit. As you can see, a bit more shiny. Okay, so that's the difference. Nice flat aftermarket ones. But you've got the instrument panel down there, so some nice details to be put on, all the rest of it, apart from being extremely shiny compared to the other. Not too bad at all. So there we go. That is the Merit M19 tank transporter, or transporter in general, and everything else. Big old kit, some very nice detail. Monster kit, fantastic looking truck, and I must admit I'm either turning soft or something, but I'm looking at it thinking, oh, I'd like to do something like that. That'd be really nice, and especially after working on some of this new shiny stuff and doing, you know, obviously just working differently. It's not mud, it's not weathering, it's not polishing seam lines. It's literally more construction, and your paintwork has to be perfect and your finishes have to be perfect and everything else like that. And I'm thinking bikes and this type of thing, I must be turning soft. But I do love my aircraft, so you know, a little bit of everything is good. And I think, yeah, you get some guys and they wouldn't do it, and sometimes I think it'd be good if you did, because you might find, you know, one, you enjoy it, secondly, you pick up a lot of different techniques and skills and things like that just by having a different mindset and a different way of putting things together. So sometimes it is worth trying something completely different and just throwing yourself out there and saying, I know I'm going to build a bike or a truck or something else like that, if you're normally an aircraft modeler or a ship or something else like that. So it is good to just try something new, you know, really do recommend it. Okay, so we've got to speak about, we've got literally 2 days now. You've got 2 days to finish the D-Day build. That's going to be a full group build going on at the moment, but as you say, you need to get that one in. We need to get your final reveal photos. Remember, if you're putting final reveal photos up, put your favourite photos 1 and 2 first in your posts, okay? Because I will take those for the final reveal video, because I know some of you said, oh, it would have been better if you use whatever picture. I take what I think are the best, or the first 2, because I think if you've put them up first, you must like those better, okay? So that is the easiest way for me to do the actual the reveal videos and things like that. Put up your favorite photos first, then work to your others afterwards and things like that. So but anyway, you've got a couple of days to get that one on. Remember, there is going to be prizes. There is going to be, obviously, the merchandise is what we're going to sort out with that one. You're going to get the medal as well for taking part and all those different things. So it's well worth getting on with that one, pushing it through. And then the new group build will start on the 1st of January. Was it 1st or 2nd of January? Which is the Middle Eastern one, which is stirring up dust, which some people have mentioned to say you can pick anything, you know, say it can be, you know, obviously very old stuff throughout the centuries, right the way up to the more modern ones like the Gulf War, things like that, and other conflicts and those things. But basically anything from the Middle East that has been a conflict, it goes. So it can be anything, aircraft, naval, you know, obviously armor, you name it, it should cover pretty much everybody in there, exception of sci-fi. I don't know how we get them in. I don't know, somehow we'll fit you in there anyway. So there's plenty to go on. Make sure you go and have a look at the rules and things. Got the Night Fighter SIG coming up soon. We spoke about it in the live show where Sid apparently is in an F-16. Don't know how that counts, but anyway, Rob will probably tell him he can't. But anyway, you've got that one coming up as well, starting soon. So make sure you get your interest down for that one. Pop it down into the threads, and then as soon as it gets a bit closer, we'll open up the actual build threads, and you can do your full build thread. Remember, it's not so important for the SIGs, but definitely the group builds. We need full builds, okay? There's no point doing, you know, the first shots, I've painted a bit and then it's done. That doesn't count, okay? It has to be a full-on thing, you know, of literally your build all the way through. Don't forget, it's mainly for the other members to see how you do it, so you can share knowledge, techniques, things like that, and your approach of building, okay? It's not really to any other reason. It's just that that's the whole point of the site, is showing other people how it's done, and because it's done in that sort of community way, it just brings us all together and everything else like that. So it is well worth doing it. So the last thing up is, it ended last week, was the World War I SIG. Some amazing entries in that. The standard of work, again, is off the scale. Unfortunately, never did get done in time. You know, I was hoping to have this one done, but sadly not, so I missed out on that one. Hopefully I'll get that one done next week as a late arrival, but your work was absolutely second to none. So what I'm going to do is leave you this week with all the fantastic work from that actual SIG that went through. But again, fantastic work, everybody who took part and finished, well done, congratulations. So until next week everybody, happy modelling, and here's the World War I SIG reveal video.